Surprise! October 13th, 2021, ban your restricted announcement. Who saw that coming? Not me. Not me. And of course, kind of monkey paw curl here a little bit because back in the day, there used to be set banned announcement days. So you knew that October 21st was the ban announcement day. This was good and bad because if there was immediate action that needed to happen, you were stuck waiting for it. And now we're on the other side, though, where ban announcements just sort of happen. And here we are, to say the least. So we'll start right off with standard. And no changes. No changes. This is an interesting one, of course. Worlds just happened. And, of course, Alrund's Epiphany is the talk of everything, basically. 7-mana sorcery, time walk. Sees play in, honestly, a pretty wide variety of decks in the format. Obviously sees play in the Epiphany Turns deck, where it's a cornerstone. Also a major player in the Dragons decks as well. But he's playing a variety of different kind of control decks. There's a blue-white control deck that plays Strixhaven Stadium. The new mono blue Demolich deck plays it. It's played in a lot of decks. And this is the kind of card that really stands out as the card that should be banned. Maybe, or if a card was to be banned, it should be this one, right? Epiphany. Other best card in the format is a Seeker's Chariot, and a Seeker's Chariot is obviously a very, very good card, but feels more Gideon ally of Zendikar good, where some card in the format has to be the best card, and if this is the best card, it's not really that bad. You know, it's a very, very powerful card, absolutely. It snowballs pretty hard, but it is manageable for sure. Whereas Epiphany has the problem of, if you're not playing blue, or maybe black for duress, you just can't stop your opponent from casting Epiphany. You know, you can't negate it. You can't interact with it in any real way. And that polarizes the format to a bunch of monocolored aggro decks trying to kill you before you can play Epiphany. And then decks that have counter spells. So control decks of that nature which can counter Epiphany and kind of play that game as well. Similar to Emergent Ultimatum, where it's just kind of like a limiting factor in the format, where if you just can't beat the 7-mana sorcery with your slower mid-range deck, you kind of just can't play in the format at all. That all being said, I'm still pretty fine with them not banning Epiphany. The new set comes out in less than a month. We just had our first major tournament, and there's still innovation happening. The SSG Open I played last weekend, which was during Worlds, later it was on Sunday during Worlds, had a bunch of different decks that weren't, you know, there were obviously some Epiphany decks, whatever. There was a lot of evolution happening in the format, and we're not really there yet. You know, part of the problem of the sort of ban craziness of the last few years, which has been a lot of design mistakes, totally fair, is that now people are very, very quick to scream, ban, I can't beat this card, ban, when the fun of Magic is trying to figure out how to beat the good card with good metagaming, good deck building, and so on and so forth. And so I'm totally okay with having a little more organic time to try and figure this puzzle out. And again, it's not going to be a puzzle for that long. The new set comes out, maybe things will change. We'll see. So if they had banned Epiphany, I would be okay with it. I think it is, you know, probably the most constricting card in the format. But I'm also fine with them not banning it as well. This is cool with me. I know some players are going to poo-poo this and be like, oh, no, Jim, they took 6 turns in a row. What am I going to do? I don't know. Figure it out. You know, it's Magic. You know, try and find a creative solution. And if you can't find a creative solution, it really is that much weight in the format, then sure, it'll be banned eventually. But I think right now is fine. And then Seeker's Chariot, again, like Gideon ally Zendikar, some cards are going to be best. I think if this card is the best card in the format, it's not that bad. You know, it's a really, really good card, absolutely. But this is the kind of card you can beat. Alrund's Epiphany has the problem if you're not playing blue or maybe black. Like, if you're a Gruul deck, what are you going to do? You know, like, I kill them, I guess. You know, there's no way to really interact with a sorcery in your Gruul deck. So, that I get. But Chariot's a creature. It makes some creatures. It's a very, very high rate card. But it's still just a creature. You know, you can block it, you can Doomblade it, you can kill the tokens, you can Wrath, you can play a bigger creature. There are a lot of ways to deal with that one. So I think Chariot's fine. I'd be very surprised if they ban Chariot at any point. So, standard is the same. No changes. Now we're going to move on to the big change here in Historic. Tibalt's Trickery.
Get off my plate.
And I'm pretty happy with this one. Tibalt's Trickery, of course, it was a meme deck. It was a meme deck until the printing of Throes of Chaos, where you would just mulligan, London Mulligan style, to a 0-mana spell on Trickery. You counter your own spell. Your deck was full of, 10 drops. You hit a 10 drop on turn 2. And if that could win the game, cool. If it couldn't win the game, you couldn't win. You know, super, super glass cannon deck. But the introduction of the card, Throes of Chaos to the format, allows it to have a much higher rate of reliability. You can cast this card, Cascade and Trickery. Trickery counters the throws. So, much more consistent. Is it a good deck in the format? Honestly, not really. It's fine. But it's just such a rancid play experience for a format that doesn't have cards like Force of Will, or tons of discard and things like that. just a really, really awful play experience. And I'm very happy it's finally getting the axe. When it was a meme, it was a little more harmless, but now it's at the point where it's consistent enough where it happens decently often, and that's just pretty frustrating. So, totally happy this card is gone. See you later, Tibalt Trickery, and don't let the door hit your devil butt on the way out. Our next one's a big one, though. Memory Lapse is going to be ejected from the format here. It is going to be suspended. Suspended, not banned. We'll get to that in a second. Memory Lapse, this makes me a little sad, because I must say that I really do like the introduction of cards like Memory Lapse, cards like Brainstorm to Historic, being cards that are only really legal in Legacy and not good enough for Legacy. Obviously, Brainstorm is, but whatever. Memory Lapse is more of a card like that, where it's a kind of really, really cool Magic card from Magic's history, but it doesn't really see any play because there isn't really a place for it. There isn't really a format for it. There's tons of cards that just aren't good enough for whatever format they're legal in, but are still really cocool cards. And Memory Lapse kind of falls under that umbrella. Problem being is it's just a little too good for Historic. It really is pretty taxing to larger spells. It's a huge tempo play. It's just so flexible, so easy to cast, and it's so playable in control decks, playable in tempo decks, playable in combo decks. It's just a very, very ubiquitous card. And it was probably one of the most winning cards, if not the most winning card in Historic over the last 6 months, both in tournaments and on the ladder. And I get it. I get it. I'm a little sad to see it go just on a philosophy standpoint. I love seeing older cards playable in different formats, but probably a little too much, and I think I'm happy to see it go overall. I think this is probably a good choice. You could argue that Expressive Iteration or some of the other blue and red cards are too good. The core of all the blue-red cards in Historic is really, really good, and Lapse is a part of that pool of cards, so you could, try and shift the blame here or there. Of course, Brainstorm was one of the cards also getting the blame for that, but I think this is reasonable. Again, the suspended thing means that it's banned, but you don't get no wild cards back, so get punked. That's what Watsy says to you. That's just really stupid in my opinion. Just ban the freaking card. Give some wild cards back. If you're going to unspend it, sure. Cards are almost never unsuspended. They end up being eventually banned, like Brainstorm now is. So, of course, Brainstorm has been effectively banned for the last 6 months or however long it's been. But now it's officially banned, so you'll get your wild cards for it. Wizards, stop being so freaking cheap. It's a couple freaking wild cards, I think the suspension thing is really freaking stupid. That's a whole other video. All right, so Brainstorm was banned, so no longer suspended. So the big changes here, of course, Memory Lapse being banned and Trickery being banned. Those are the bannings. We have a new thing here as well. 5 digital-only cards are being rebalanced. That's right. We're going to see what happens in other digital games and other computer games, where when there's a card that's a little broken or a little too good, a little too bad, they just fix it. They buff it or they nerf it, right? Buff and nerf. We're esports now. We're all about digital things. And real fast, I know people whine and clutch their pearls, but these cards aren't real in Magic, Jim. These aren't even real Magic cards. They're not paper. I can't play them in paper. These aren't even real. Shut up. All right. This is Magic using the digital platform and exploring a design space that I think is really freaking cool. And I think the only downside is you can't play them in paper because the cards are really cool, but that's fine. Arena's a new playground. It's a new place to try things out. I think it's freaking awesome. If you don't, whatever, it's fine, I guess. But I implore you to not just follow the herd mentality of oh my God, this is different. I don't like this. You're changing the thing that I love. Take a second and just take it all in. So that being said, let's take a look here. And there are 5 changes. The most impactful one by far is Davriel's Withering. 1 black instant. Creature perpetually gets -1/-2. This means you basically take a Sharpie and change the power and toughness by -1 and -2 for the rest of the game, no matter where the card goes. If it's reanimated, if it's unsummoned, if it goes back into your library, that physical card is effectively altered for the rest of the entire game. Now, super cool mechanic, super cool card. The problem, of course, was the combination with the card Vesperlark. And Vesperlark, they have a... No, Vesperlark. Vesperlark is a creature. Whenever it dies, it returns a creature with power 1 or less. Forms an infinite combo with Withering, where with the Blood Artist in play, you would drain your opponent for infinite. The problem was that, A, the combo is a little obnoxious. I'm pretty sure it's something they just missed in development, which is a pretty easy thing to miss, honestly. It's kind of a weird, old, obscure card. But the real annoying thing is, if you don't have a combo piece, and you just have a Vesperlark and play the Withering on it, the game just loops and ends up being a draw, which is like not okay. That's not how things should work. So I think this is a really good change. This does affect Historic in a pretty significant way because that deck is no longer functional. And now the change is that an opponent's creature will get -1, -2 rather than a creature you control. So if your opponent wants to help you out and target your Vesperlark, then you can do the combo. That's probably not going to happen though. So now it's back to being a pretty cool removal spell. You can kill their Arclight Phoenix and it can't come back. Cool things like that. I'm down. They also changed the Planeswalker so that it's same idea. They can't give a creature you control perpetually -3, -3. I don't think this actually affects anything at present, but kind of covering their bases for future things, which makes sense. That's fine. So whatever. Next up is a buff. They're actually going to buff Faceless Agent from a 2/1 to a 2/2. Agent's a super cool tribal card. It's a changeling. It seeks out a tribal creature card in your library. And it's a fun card, really cool card for Historic where any of the more lesser known tribes, Minotaurs or Homoculi or whatever, if you want to build a deck around those cards, there aren't necessarily enough playable cards for it. So Agent kind of steps in and helps you fill the voids in that deck, which is super cool, I think. You know, Historic doesn't have the entire card pool that, you know, Legacy or Modern has. So this is a cool way to do that. Fun card, really powerful card, honestly. I don't know if this card needs to be nerfed, need to be buffed. Like, it was already pretty playable at 2/1, but they're buffing up to a 2/2, which I think is pretty cool. Sarkin Wanderer of Shiv, one of the Planeswalkers in Jumpstart, just making the second ability a +1 ability rather than a 0 ability, which is conjure a Shivan Dragon to your hand. Another cool digital-only mechanic. Card's still probably not super great, but that's fun. Whatever, buff the card. Check it out. You know, that's cool. And then Subversive Acolyte gets a pretty big buff, actually. Was a 2/2 for 2 black. Is now a 2/3 for a black and 1. So pretty good card here. Pump it up, you make it a lifelinker, make it a Phyrexian Negator. Pretty good card, honestly. Pretty cool one as well. So I am all about this. I love the digital only cards. I think they're really, really fun. I think it's an awesome design space. And I think it's great to be able to fix cards. We would definitely do this in Constructed if we could, right? If we had the opportunity to go back and change Oko to +1, -1, -5 instead of +2, +1, +1, whatever. I can't talk. That'd be awesome. Or the Feldar Guardian combo. That was a mistake. They just missed it in development. These things happen. There only are, you know, a dozen people working at Wizards on the sets that are played by millions of people. They're gonna miss stuff. It happens, you know. So in Magic, in Paper Magic, if we could do this, we would, but we can't. It's just too difficult logistically. You can't physically have cards not do what they say they do. But on Arena, you can. You can change the cards. I think it's freaking awesome. I love it. I do think, however, that for the players who don't like the digital cards, having a Pioneer on Arena to have a format where you can play your old standard cards that mimics paper format would be a good idea. That's another topic though also. So all in all, I think it's really, really cool. Happy with the bannings. I think that, again, Epiphany is certainly on the watch list. It's certainly on the watch list, but I'm pretty happy with the Trickery ban. Memory Lapse probably had to go too. This is all pretty good. So let me know what you think in the comments, all right? I'm Jim Davis. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. It's first time, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and take a second, please. It helps me out so much. Like the video, leave a comment, and help the algorithm, all right? Appreciate it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, folks.